and your family, and we hope you guys are staying safe. Please get tested if you need to. Remember, if you do need to make an appointment to receive a COVID test, you can go to tinyurl.com/COVID stops with me. Thank you for taking care of our island community. And the opportunity to explore culture, to take a historical perspective of where our people are, how we got here, and even possibly where we're going, is an opportunity that none of you should pass up. And we have Dr. Michael Carson, who is an archaeologist with the University of Guam, and we are going to talk about making that opportunity, one that should not be passed up, to a great many people. So, Dr. Carson, welcome to the show, and we're very glad to have you here.
Hey, Jason, good morning, and thanks for having me on your program.
First, I want to say, Doc, I have been a fan of archaeology since I watched Raiders of the Lost Ark way back in 1984. I'm sure that's like the gold standard for any proper self-respecting archaeologist. But
Oh yeah.
yeah, I was gonna say your headphones game is really, really strong too. You can probably hear all the way back to Mesopotamia. And that's about all the archaeology humor I can never have. That in the opening scene for The Exorcist, but that's a completely different interview.
Yeah, that's a different approach.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Indiana Jones. My life is exactly like that. Except there's not too many Nazis right now.
Exactly. Yeah.
Some of my colleagues are pretty close.
And hopefully faces not getting all like burning off and everything like that. But yeah, go watch the movie, everybody. It's probably on Netflix. It's a great movie. So Doc, one of the things that as an archaeologist, you study the movement of people over time and like their behaviors and their tendencies and everything. What makes that such a distinct discipline for people here in the Marianas, and like how we have moved around and how we've chose to settle, and like how we even move around more?
Yeah, Jason, you make a really good point there. Yeah, archaeology is fundamentally what we look at is we're looking for facts about what people did in the past, right? Mm-hmm. And one of the things that people did in the past is exactly like you said, is mobility, migration, movement through what we call our sea of islands, right? So the ocean and the land, linked together. That people aren't necessarily just living in one place all the time for their entire life and for multiple generations, but rather exploring the world and adapting to things that change. I mean, we're still doing it now, right? We're still learning how to adapt with things that are happening to us, with the virus and with climate change and other things happening to us.
Exactly. I can't even imagine how much this pandemic era, like maybe 10 years into the future, how much this is going to be a case study for people in your profession and everything about how people migrated around, they clustered, whether we were forced to or whether we made the choice to, and everything like that, and how that all played out. I've never even considered that. That's interesting.
Yeah. So if we look at the things that are challenging to us today, right? You could be pretty sure that historically, or even in ancient history, like in archaeology, other people have faced this similar kinds of problems, right? So that's how archaeology can be relevant and useful to us, to anyone. And you could say that at a global scale, right? But locally, say in Guam and the Marianas, what is special about our place that gives us something that we can learn in archaeology? And that's what you said about the ability to migrate and be mobile and using the sea and the land together. Also, that close relationship with the coastlines gives us an opportunity to learn how did the Chamorro ancestors in the distant past cope with a change, say in sea level, because sea level did change during the time people were living here. We have new and different coral reefs now.
Several hundred years ago, obviously, people were looking out at the horizon on the ocean, and they literally thought that was the end of the world. They thought, there was nothing else on the planet.
Right. For the Marianas and for Micronesia, I would modify that a little bit, saying that they probably, at least not everybody, but some people knew that if they explored, then they would find something. Maybe that that personal feeling of exploration that they wanted to go find something, that sense of adventure. I don't think everybody was like that, but
Sure.
certainly in Micronesia, at least a few people had that spark, to explore across the horizons. And we can see how through time there were moments of migrations when people explored different parts of the Pacific, and one of them would be when people first came to live in Guam and the Marianas. So what happened during that time? What made that voyage possible at that point in time and not earlier, right? Or later people voyaged to other places, but what was it about that time in terms of the population size and density? Were they in their homeland? Were things getting too crowded for them, looking for new places, or was it just the will to explore across the horizon, or was something happening in the climate with the reliability of the foods that they were eating? Like, was something happening that was making crops fail and they needed to look somewhere else, or was something happening in the ocean or with the ocean currents? So we can look at the timing and understand what happened. We also can look at when people were already living in Guam and Saipan and Tinian and other islands, and when their sea level changed and their coral reef system changed, then how did they adapt with it? What things did they do that were successful for them? And what things did they do that, it wasn't working so well, and they needed to abandon that and adapt. And of course, people were successful overall because, we're still here, right? More people are still.
And is it fair to say, Doc, that throughout the Marianas, even maybe more at a more micro level, we can even consider, things like how people tended to migrate to different regions within the same island? Maybe they went there for economic reasons, or they went there for agricultural opportunities, or.
Exactly. You hit it exactly on one of the key points that we can research in archaeology, because we're looking at just those material remains, right? So we see, where did people live at each time period, right? So the oldest time period, there's a few sites, and then later time periods, there's more sites in more diverse areas. So logically, that means, okay, there's more people living in more places, and at a certain point in time, people are moving to live not only at the coasts where they have access to their, the water and the shellfish and things, but also moving to other places with more forest resources or inland resources. So something is changing in the way that people live in the environment. So that's really interesting. We can see that it does happen. We can see that material record.
Sure.
And then we can start thinking, okay, well, why did that happen? What was the motivation, or what was, were people forced to do that, or did they want to expand? Then we can start developing these ideas and looking for how to prove or disprove those ideas.
And when I was at UOG, I was there from 92 to 96, and there were always, like 3 or 4 archaeology majors, and there were a couple like graduate assistants, and they were always like the most intellectually curious, really smart people, really engaging. You could always strike up a conversation with them, and they'd always go really deep, and always be embracing of information and new ideas and everything. So obviously the field of archaeology, it's so broad, and you have to have a very open mind about things. And to that point, you're actually offering a virtual mini course to actually talk about archaeology within the region, and for people. So please tell me all about that, because that's just fascinating.
Thanks for bringing that up. I get to pitch the online mini course.
Absolutely, we're here to help.
The mini course, it's at least for myself, working in archaeology, people are just so curious and want to know more, and I try to share as much information as I can, but I realize people just don't have access, right, to information. They're not going to read like a 500-page technical report with data tables and numbers in it, right? They just want to know, okay, what did you find, and what can I learn about the ancient Chamorro past and how does that relate with today? These basic questions that are very interesting to people. So I thought, well, why not we just open up a course at UOG. It's not going to be an entire semester. This mini course is just 5 days of meetings. It's in the month of March. So 2 hours per day for 5 days over the course of about 2 weeks. So it's in early March.
And that's very doable. And this isn't just for for students. Can this also be undertaken by professionals, people in different disciplines? And
yeah. What we're doing is offering this course through our global learning and environment. That's called the Global Learning and Engagement, GLE. And so that's global. So it means anyone can enroll. Anyone can register. You don't need to be a student. You could be a working professional. You could be someone who has been working in archaeology or history for a long time, and you just feel like, I want to learn, the most updated information. This is your opportunity to do that. So we have so many people in Guam and in Saipan and Rota, like at our historic preservation offices or the different U.S. government agencies like National Park Service, Fish and Wildlife, Navy. We have our great partners at like Guam Museum or not only the Historic Preservation Office, but the different institutes that work on preserving Guam heritage and culture. So like all of our great partners can be part of these things.
Now, Doc, even though you said this isn't like let's call it air quotes, traditional academic course over the course of a 12-week semester.
No.
Yeah. Because this is a mini course, could participants still perhaps use this for maybe continuing education, or can they list this on their resume?
Yeah. They absolutely can. You hit exactly on the right point. So what we're doing is making this available in spread out over those 2 weeks or 2.5 weeks. So it's easy for everyone to manage. Just 2 hours per session, and through the Global Learning and Engagement Office, people will gain one continuing credit unit that they could use toward a degree program if they're in one. Or they can use that with the certificate that we give you in your job profile. And
I'm thinking teachers too, like anybody out in public sector, private sector, DODEA, federal program, and everything. This is a fantastic thing to have, hopefully on your growing CV.
Yeah, it's something many of our partners in like a Department of the Interior, so that's like National Park Service and Fish and Wildlife Service at the U.S. level, they can use the certificate from this course exactly in the way that you said toward their job profile. And you could do something similar in other local Guam offices and also in the CNMI. That's exactly right. So this is the kind of course where you don't need to devote an entire semester to it. You don't need to enroll formally as a student in a degree program. This is something that anyone can access.
But you are going to have to work. I mean, it is and under your tutelage and everything. Yeah, people are going to have to put their thinking caps on.
You got to put in the effort, right? You're devoting your time. You're devoting your effort during those few hours to learn and be engaged. So I will present information in the first part, and then we will have some discussion and learning exercises for everybody. And they're not difficult. Anyone can do these things. It's really just encouraging people to think, in creative ways about archaeology and ancient history.
Okay. May I just ask you about format, Doc, if I could, because and obviously like we're a show and we have like a lot of regional pride and regional focus, but there are obviously Guamanians and people from the region scattered throughout the world and everything. They may want to participate, but because of time zone differences, they may still want to jump in. So is this a real-time mini course, or is it like on-demand videos?
It's a real-time course.
Okay.
Because
cool.
we're not quite set up to do the on-demand part just yet. I want people to be engaged and have discussions with each other. That's a large part of this course. So we're doing it live. So We do have a number of people already who have expressed interest coming from, the Chamorro communities living abroad in San Diego and Oregon and other places. They're welcome. They say, okay, it's going to be a little difficult with the time zone, but yeah, we can do it. So the more the merrier, the more diversity we bring in, the better, really.
And we do want to tell people, if you are interested in asking any questions of Dr. Carson about his course, the email you want to hit up is uog.gle, as he said, global learning environment?
Global learning and engagement.
Global learning and engagement. There you go. So uog.gle at triton.uog.edu. Once more, uog.gle at triton.uog.edu. Doc, this sounds like a fantastic opportunity, and we'd love to have you back on the show, find out how many people signed up. Hopefully you can do this really, really at scale, and you get a ton of people doing this, because archaeology is such a field that will do nothing but enrich you. I mean, you only win when you take up archaeology.
Yeah, well, you said it, not me. That's the best sales pitch I've ever heard.
Well, let me just say that somewhere, somehow, Indiana Jones is smiling right now.
I hope so. And, like I said, just like the global learning and engagement, that kind of says everything what we want to do right there. We want to be global, get everybody involved, want everyone to learn, we want everyone to be engaged. So sign up for it if you can. If you have any questions, just be in touch with us. And Jason, I'm very happy you made the time for us on this show.
Absolutely. Our pleasure.
Yeah, great to be here with you.
And you've got an open invitation. You ever want to come back on the show and talk about like anything that you guys are doing up there at UOG? All you got to do is, you're in. All you got to do is just send us a message, and we'll give you a time and a date.
Don't even send us a message. You have the Zoom link. It's always the same. So just pop on randomly.
Yeah, let's jump in. Jump into.
There you go.
Thanks, Mike.
We don't mind being video bombed when it's by really cool people.
9:53. We're going to take a quick break, and we're back with more of the show. We'll actually wrap it up next, right here on The Link. Good morning.
Get your dancing shoes on and be prepared.
Partner,